This production is sponsored by The Good Estate Agent. With an average turnaround time of 3 weeks, if you want your house sold quickly, then contact Stefan today on 01942 356 577. Quote Super League Raw for 33% off. So good evening and welcome to the Captain's Run. It's been a couple of weeks, Steph, since we were last doing this. It seems a long time ago, mate.
It seems ages ago, mate. Really excited for tonight. I can't wait. It's good to have Thursday Rugby back.
Absolutely, mate. The only way, of course, to kickstart a weekend of Super League action is right here on the Captain's Run. Before we get into the 6 games that we've got on the horizon, be amiss of us not to touch on a few points. First and foremost, Matty Ashton has been confirmed out for the season. I've gone on record since Vegas, really saying I felt he was carrying a knock and perhaps shouldn't be playing. I don't know if it's linked or not, but Warrington have paid the ultimate price here.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely gutted for Matty because he would have definitely been in contention for the Ashes. Probably best winger in Super League for me. And, as a rugby league fan, we hate to see any players getting injured, let alone ones like ACLs and MCLs. So best wishes to Matty. Hopefully we see him back on the field soon.
Let's hope so, absolutely. And of course, it has been formally announced now it's KR against Leeds in Vegas. Good luck to both sides. Great for both sides. We'll probably talk about that next year. And of course, Salford. Again, I know that it's difficult for clubs to come out and say what's going on, but a lot of rumours in the last 24, 48 hours, one confirmed, one unconfirmed, one, of course, that a winding up order has been put to Salford, 500K's worth of debt to HMRC, unconfirmed. But of course, what has been confirmed is that Salford Council have pulled out of selling the stadium. So more bad news for Salford Red Devils.
Yeah, and obviously that with the council completely scuppers any chance of the deal that they had negotiated going through, because we all know that they're only interested in the land, not the rugby club itself. So, yeah, my heart goes out to those Salford fans, Matty Timms especially, good friend of the show, member. It's just a horrific situation, which we all want just to see the back of. And it's just another chapter in the saga that is Salford this season, which is, it's bad for everybody, isn't it? It's not, there's no winners in this at all.
No.
We just want to see a resolution either way, whether that's a winding up or whether it's a saviour coming at the last minute.
Right, we're not downbeat here on Super League Raw. We celebrate the great game of Rugby League, and I said on Super League Raw Weekly that this is like the fillet steak of rounds. It's an absolute belter that's on the way, starting this evening with this little beauty. St. Helens taking on the Catalan Dragons. It is, of course, 6th against 7th. The Saints on a 3-game losing streak. You can see that there. Of course, before we jump to that, 27-20. Catalan got a decent, you consider how successful that St. Helens have been over the years. There's not many teams that are only 7 behind in terms of the win ratio. And of course, they're 3-2 in the last 5 meetings in Super League. Saints on that 3-game losing streak, Wigan, Wire, and of course, Leeds at Magic. As for the Catalan Dragons, they were on a 3-game winning streak. Up until Magic, so that's them. Tries in the favour of Saints, nothing in it in terms of tackle efficiency, kicking in the favour of the Catalan Dragons, and then we get into the bottom area there. 98 errors to 107, 48 to 51. Even that's tight. Hence why these are 6th and 7th. Steph. The first game was a a drop goal, a drop goal win for the Saints. Johnny Lomax, of course, could be equally as tight this evening.
Absolutely, and that's a great start in terms of how close they are in terms of victories. You'd never have guessed that if you hadn't showed it me. Especially given how dominant Saints have been in the Super League era. It's a fantastic win ratio for Catalan. I'm really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be an absolute belter, and I think it's more battle of the coaches than battle of the teams. This because of the pressure that both coaches are under at the moment. Obviously, Steve Mack had that little mini run, which got them higher up the table. But obviously, a bit of slumping form recently. And then we don't need to go into the Saints situation. So you could say this is must win for both coaches, couldn't you, in terms of turning up the heat on their positions?
Yeah, and I think, when you come out like Steve Mack at the end of the last game, I think that does probably add a bit more pressure onto his team. I can appreciate why he's done it, but of course, the journalists will all be queuing up to say, you're going to blame the referee this week, Steve. You know what it's like. It's one of those, isn't it? I think the interesting thing here, before we move on to the next bit, is just on that errors, 98 errors that Saints have made. I think it says a lot about where Saints are at the moment, that the second highest error maker in Super League is Mark Percival.
Wow.
Which is mad, with 15. And, I think Percival has been running his blood to water. You can tell he really cares for the badge, for Paul Wellens. He's trying to do it tough. But when a player like Mark Percival is the second highest error maker, there is a little bit here that maybe Saints are trying too hard, and they maybe need to just take the temperature down a little bit. Are they putting too much pressure on themselves, maybe?
Yeah, well, we've seen that with all the senior players at St Helens. Walmsley's made quite a lot of errors as well. He's been great in some games, but the errors have been uncharacteristic of a St Helens side. But that does scream of a team that's under pressure and overplaying, trying to do a lot of the stuff on themselves as well. Players playing out of position. So all those things factor into it. If you've got a settled squad and a settled side that's pretty much the same, 1 to 17 every week, your error count will naturally be lower because those players are used to playing with each other. It's gonna be a really interesting one. I'm so intrigued in terms of how Saints are going to address this game. The team selection's a story in itself. We've got dramas with that from St Helens.
Well, let's part that, because we'll get to that when we see the squads. But I mean, look, just to make people, you look at that there, it really is close. Let's remind you how close it was in game one. This is how close it was. It couldn't have been closer. 14-30. But look at these stats right the way down. Saints had really no right to win the game, really. 7 less in terms of completed sets, less play the balls in the 20 metres of the Catalan Dragons. Not an awful lot in it in terms of metres made. More post-contact metres the way of the Dragons. More tackles made from Saints. Less tackle efficiency from Saints. Penalty errors 11-8, penalties 2-3. So other than the overall win, if you'd have took the final score off and said, right, of those statistics, who wins this game, most people would go Catalan Dragons. What we know is, it was a really intense battle. If you remember, Steph, it wasn't the greatest rugby league. It was quite error, as the errors show there. It was a little bit messy again, because at the time, let's not forget, Saints were in great form, and neither were Catalan at that point. So it was a scrappy game, very similar to this. You said it a minute ago. Must win for both coaches. It was then. It is now. If we get a game as tight as that, though, we're in for a treat tonight.
Definitely, I think there's a real, because we've had a bit of a gap from Super League. There is a real, excitement about going back to Super League, isn't there? And I think this one it couldn't have been a perfect game for me for a Thursday night. I think it's a great way of reintroducing the round. I think the only thing that's going to be guaranteed in this game is that Catalan will get more penalties than they did last week.
Well, it would be hard, wouldn't it? I'm sure, that's it. They tell you what, mate. Yeah, I've not seen your bets yet, but that'll probably be even money, if not even greater. Great stuff, mate. Great stuff. No, look, this is just fantastic. And of course, the WhatsApp group tonight. If you're a member here at Super League Raw, you'll be on the WhatsApp group tonight. If you're not at the game, make sure you're on the WhatsApp group, the Watch Along Live group. Watch it alongside the Super League Raw family. Get your comments in the chat. It really is an experience. If you've not done that yet, members, do it tonight. Get on WhatsApp. Get in the Watch Along group. You'll love it. And if you're not a member yet, maybe now's the time to do it so that you're in that debate tonight as this game unfolds. There's the QR code. Do it straight away. Right, okay, let's get into the squads. Here they are. As you can see at the bottom there, key men missing: Kyle Felt, Conrad Hull, Harry Robertson, Joe Batchelor and James Bell for the Saints. For the Dragons, though, it's time to wince. No Tompkins, no Makinson, no Ben Garcia, the captain. Julien Busquet is out, as too is Elliot Whitehead. Advantage Saints when you consider the personnel that Catalan have got out there, Steph?
Well, the bookies say so. There's some very key players out for both sides there. Harry Robertson, Saints are a different side when they've got Harry Robertson in the centres for them. And Joe Batchelor as well as a key player. from a tackling point of view and a defensive point of view. But on the other side of that, Ben Garcia, Julian Bousquet, and Elliot Whitehead. Wow, that's three of their key players, isn't it? Not playing, and also in that forward battle where Saints will be looking at that, going, we could really probably do what Warrington did to Lee last week in the Challenge Cup, dominate the middle, because that's where Catalan are strongest, getting on the front foot. So that very much evens it up, if not puts it more in the favour of Saints, where I would have probably gone in the way of Catalan.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's who those people are. If you look at Saints, Carl Felt not really a part of the leadership group. Neither's Conrad Hall, neither's Robertson, neither's Bell, neither's Batchelor. You look at the Dragons, it is the leadership group. It's Sam Tompkins, big voice in the dressing game. Makinson may or may not be in the leadership group, but bags of experience. Garcia is the captain. Julien Bousquet, definitely a part of that group as well. So on the field tonight, in game, who would you expect in that side to take charge? You'd probably throw names like Luke Keary out, I would have thought. They'd be the ones that need to step up tonight in terms of organisation and morale on the field.
Yeah, and they've got some very experienced players in that squad. Kotrick is going to be bags of experience there, and look where he is on the Man of Steel. So that shows you.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, so that's it. But they've got Remy Smith has been outstanding for them. I think Pangai Jr. again, he needs to have a massive game tonight and really take it to that Saints forward pack. And Aspero Bichet, we want to see his development. He could be a massive factor tonight for Catalan. So yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. Is Farge will probably play Woods in the halves?
Yeah, it'll be in the halves. Yeah. I mean, going back to the last game, Saints, the man of the match, we gave man of the match to Alex Walmsley in that game. 121 metres, 19 carries, 6 busts and an assist on the night in Perpignan. Walmsley for me is I know people are going on about him dropping the ball. And again, I go back to what I said about Mark Percival. Alex Walmsley's been there, got the t-shirt. He's still as tough and as robust as he's ever been going down the middle. He's the top meter maker in Super League. That tells you everything you need to know. Just needs to keep hold of the ball. That's all Alex Walmsley needs to do. He's stop the silly errors. But he's pivotal in terms of that middle unit getting on top tonight. And the man who's pictured there, of course, Jack Wells, becoming to quite a lot of criticism in and around St. Helens for not applauding. We always say on Give You a Wobble, it's 1%, 2% of the entire fan base. Jack decided that he was going to punish all the fans by not thanking them to go for making the trip to Newcastle, which I'm sure in retrospect he'd regret. And I know that the club, it would appear, listening to Paul Whelan's press conferences, have addressed that with him, that, as a senior member of the club, he's got to look at the bigger picture. And I'm sure he's took that on board. You wouldn't expect too much in the way of... you wouldn't expect the fans to do an awful lot about that tonight. I would expect that based on the fact he's their best player, they'll forgive and forget and they'll move on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? This is what really intrigues me about this game, because of the hostilities with some of the Saints fans to the team at the moment, and they've not been at home since that Magic game. It's going to be really interesting, especially if Catalan get a couple of scores early doors. How the fans react, that's going to be really interesting tonight. So loads of plot twists in this one. You can probably tell I'm so giddy to watch it. It's going to be fascinating. Must see viewing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and LG's just left the room. Anyway, that's another story. I say really, really intriguing. I think if I was a betting man, St. Helens are going to start with the team that ended against Leeds. I think Sailor's on the wing, don't you?
I would think so. They'll go with Lomax and Whitby in the halves, Wellesby at fullback. So they've got to. And I think for me, it's not a bad thing, because with Felt being out, that's somewhere you could legitimately put Sailor and say you're doing it for the right reasons. But I think Sailor needs a massive game in front of this Saints home crowd tonight, just to try and turn the tide of getting them on side with him. They've not, since that Salford game when he scored 4, it's just gone completely downhill for him since then. So for the lad, I hope he has a really good game tonight, and I hope he shows what he can do, because regardless of whether he's fitting into this side at the moment, there's a talented player there, and he deserves to, have a decent shot at it, not be written off after 10 rounds of Super League.
Yes, and I do know, having looked at some of the other podcasts out there, that there is a massive clamour for Noah Stevens to start for Saints tonight, or certainly be in the starting 17. We said it on Weekly, with a forward line, with a team playing the way that they're playing at the moment, how Stevens hasn't had more minutes this year is crazy. Beyond me. I mean, imagine if they were playing well.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
It's signed him on a 4-year deal as well. Why do that if you're not going to play him? It's just
or are they taking that for granted, which I think Noah will probably have a think about, because if you think about it, like the likes of Samba and Vaughan are moving on.
Yeah.
Noah Stevens signed it, and Samba has had more game time than Stevens.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's rumours around Saints that he's trying to come out of that contract with Wigan, which I doubt very much Wigan allow him to do. If it's signed, it's signed. Yeah. But yeah, really, really odd. I think Stevens does need to play, but I just think that for those, and there was a lot of, I don't think many people, I know the non-members went Dragons, as did the members, but I think looking at those players that are out, they're going to need, the players that are playing are going to need to galvanise for the Catalan Dragons tonight, no doubt about it. Right, key players, we've got to go there. We've already said Jack Wellesby, but you've said it, Espiro Bichet. I mean, these two fullbacks for me on the night, I think will be pivotal. I really, really do. I think both of them potential man of the matches on any given night. We must say that Bichet's only had 6 appearances to Jack's 10, but that said, Jack is crushing him, as you'd expect with his experience. We're not comparing Bichet and Wellesby in terms of who's the better player. We're not doing that. No. What we are saying is that these two players for both sides are critical tonight. If Jack's back at fullback, which we expect him to be, his rightful position, I think he'll be more dangerous and he'll add to those statistics. As for Espiro Bichet, with every passing game, he is looking like he is the long-term star for the Dragons and potentially Super League.
Yeah, he's still got a few errors in his game. I think particularly when I think back to the Challenge Cup match against KR, I think that first try was very soft from him, if I remember rightly. So he has still got a few things that he needs to work on, positional play, things like that. But from a raw talent point of view, and an exciting player that's coming into, burst onto the scene really in Super League this season, the lad's without doubt a phenomenal talent, and he's going to just get better and better and better the more consistent game time as he gets at fullback for Catalan. And that's why there's no way in the memory of man I would be bringing Tompkins back at fullback when you've got someone like this with the what he's shown already this season. He needs to play and he needs to get better very, very soon, because that'll only come with game time.
It's going to be a great game. I mean, a couple of side issues. Alric Da Costa, if he plays tonight, he's 150th in his career. So
he's a key player. He's going to be key tonight.
Yeah. Mate, there's a load of great battles over this field tonight. I just think that these two are massive for both teams. I'll tell you what's interesting as well before we move on to the next game. Saints. Yeah. There's been a lot of criticism of Saints, but they're in that pool of other teams. But here's one for you, right? Saints have made the most tackle busts in the league.
Nice.
They're second only to KR in clean breaks. Just like that registered to people. So they're breaking the line, they're clean breaking, but for some unknown reason, they are not ending up with tries and wins. It's unbelievable to think that they're having so much joy going through the line that they lead the tackle bust. They're second only to KR in clean breaks, and they are where they are in the league.
How many of those were against Salford though in that Salford reserves?
Well, yeah, but not that many. I could have a look, mate. If you're gonna put me on the spot like that, it's awfully kind of you. Awfully kind of you. Let's have a look. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of tackle busts, to be fair. So actually, 79 of them tackle busts. To be fair, but hey, stats are stats. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to give Paul a little bit of love, mate.
Don't let stats get in the way of a good story.
Don't let Stef get in the way of a good story. But anyway, there you go. Let's move on. But no, that's a great game. That's going to be on there this evening. Really looking forward to it. Right, now we go to tomorrow night. What a belter this one's going to be. Leeds Rhinos taking on Hull FC. Should be an absolute cracking game, this one. Really looking forward to it, and I know you are too. You look down it, as you'd expect, we've got to consider the Leeds Rhinos, all of that wonderful history that they've got in this competition. No surprises at all to see, that they've won 46-19. They've won 4 of the last 5. Leeds coming off the back of that Saints win. Hull FC on a 3-game losing streak. KR Wigan and, of course, Huddersfield. That's the one that had really stung them at Magic Weekend. They're coming up, FC, against the second best defence in Super League. Only 111 conceded this season. That's the part of the Leeds Rhinos game that has really improved year on year. If you look at the tackle efficiency, that goes the way of Leeds, like I say, hence why they've got the best defence. Nothing in it in terms of conversions. Errors, very, very close errors and penalty counts. But here's the kicker. Spoiler alert. The 2 worst disciplinary records in Super League go head to head. The Leeds Rhinos have had 1 red and 5 yellows, and the Hull FC have had 2 reds and 7 yellows this season. It is unbelievable. Could that be a factor at Headingley? Because discipline for these 2 teams is a problem.
It definitely could be a factor. Definitely, that is one of the standout facts, and it's a great stat on Leeds. They've really surprised me this season. I wasn't as confident with the signings and stuff that they'd be as good as they have been. But sometimes you've got to eat your own words, haven't you? And they've been phenomenal this season for me. Really interesting as well that we've got 4th v 5th in this one. We've got 6th v 7th in Saints Catalan. We've got 2 v 3 in Lee Wigan. There's some phenomenal games.
8th, 9th Warrington and Wakey as well.
9th Warrington, which we're obviously going to come to.
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic round. But this one could get really spicy, couldn't it? It's just got that kind of feel to it. 2 really tough physical sides. Going head to head. It's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of the KR boys and girls saying that Matt Tim saying he played Salford twice. All right, leave me alone. Baz is saying that Hull FC have run out of steam already. He would do though, wouldn't he? Let's get into the squads. And of course, the great news, some great news for Leeds Rhinos fans. Great news, in fact, for Super League, in the fact that Brodie Croft is in the 21-man squad, as too is Cameron Smith. He's there as well. So they are 2 massive returnees for the Rhinos.
Yeah, well, like I've just said, we've been so impressed with Leeds, how they've done this season, obviously beating Wigan as well, which was a great win. But to do that, the run that they've been on without Cam Smith and without Brodie Croft, 2 massive players for them, that speaks volumes as well. So they're only going to improve with those 2 players. That's undisputable. So that for me, if those 2 both play, that is a massive shift to Leeds getting a victory in this game.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. Leeds at the moment are in better form coming into this. Of course, they'll be buoyant off the back of that win over Saints. As for the Hull FC, it's pretty strong. Yes, Liggy Sal's out. I mean, Cartwright's a big blow in second row. That said, Brad Fash returns, which again gives them a bit of versatility. He's back in the squad, which is good to see. The mullet to be feared returns. But like I say, I just think that what we saw going back to Leeds, what we saw prior to Brodie Croft's injury was the start of what looked like, and we only had about 60, 70 minutes in full that Connor and Croft played together. But that 70 minutes looked very, very good. Those 2 together looked a real partnership. If they can, regain that right off the bat, it could be very exciting in terms of the attacking play that Leeds can throw at teams, not just Hull FC this week, but teams that are yet to come.
Definitely, like I alluded to a second ago, it massively swings things in favour of Leeds to have Brodie Croft back. It'd massively swing anybody to have Brodie Croft back. So he's one of the best in Super League, isn't he? So it's I hope he does play, because we have missed him. You know, he's such a talented player and one that lights up Super League when he's playing just as a neutral in this game. You want the best players to be playing, and Hull FC will be praying he's not. but yeah, and from the Hull FC side of things, I think there's been a dip in form with them, and obviously they've lost the last three. But not having Cartwright for the majority of that has been a massive loss for them, hasn't it? You know, then they've had to be playing Hardacre and Chamberlain in the second row. That obviously has an impact. They've done a sterling job for them. They've filled it admirably, but they're both not second rowers.
No.
And, that does have a big impact in terms of your forward dominance. And we've already talked about how much of an impact that has on players like Caesar, who are not going to get that space if they're not forward dominating. So that has an impact on his game and Asiata's game as well. So it's going to be a real interesting one for FC. I think they probably need to win this one to stop the rock kind of thing of the three losses. I don't think they played badly in those three games.
No,
but losing becomes a habit, and that's the worry for FC.
Absolutely. Ryan Hall, if he gets a try, he's 19th place on the all-time British scorers list. Jordan Rapana will be making his 250th career appearance. And Tom Briscoe needs just 3 tries to get to a century for the black and white. So some key stats there going into this game. Look, there can only be one head-to-head that we look at here. It's the 2 people that are in and around the Man of Steel, Albert Goldthorpe, and even our Super League trophy 10 rounds in. It's Jake Connor, it's Aidan Caesar. Both of these 2 players having very good seasons thus far. Connor, of course, leading the Goldthorpe and the Man of Steel, just outside ours, as also is Aidan Caesar. But both of these 2 players outstanding. Tries, not so much, but assisting, very strong stats indeed, averaging over an assist a game. You look at the goals, again, nothing in that. Both of these goal kickers, nothing there. You can see, though, on the next one, attacking kicks in general play. These are the go-to men in their squads for end of set kicks, etc. And I think that line speed, kick pressure, really important in this game. We know that these 2, and they have been doing it very well this season. I think Caesar perhaps not so much the last few games, but Connor has been pretty consistently game managing well. Caesar, for whatever reason, not been as sparkling as he was in those first 5 or 6 rounds. Both have 40-20 in the locker as well this season. This is the engine room, Steph. Whoever comes out on top in this could individually swing it. And again, we could be looking at the man. I mean, we know that Sky always go half-backs anyway. The chances are, whichever teams win, one of these are picking up the man of the match award. But we've got to give them the due. They're up in the league tables for their performances this season on merit. They are having very good seasons.
Yeah, they are. And Caesar's the one that has dropped off in form. But that's not a coincidence when we've just talked about it. Hull FC's pack's not been as dominant because of the injuries they've had. And that has a massive impact in the way Caesar has been playing. So it's not surprising to me that he has dropped off a bit. But on the flip side of that, Jake Connor, we rightly criticised that signing by Leeds early in the season. Wherever he's been, he's had really good spells of playing really well, but then always found trouble. And that was always our fear for Jake at Leeds. He's completely proved us wrong in that respect. He's having a phenomenal season for Leeds. And you've got to give Brad Arthur a lot of credit for that, because it takes a strong coach to coach a strong personality. But it seems like Jake's fitted right in at Leeds, and it's just what he needed, which is great for the game and all of us. We want to see the best players playing well. And I'm quite happy to eat my words on Jake Connor. He's been phenomenal this year for Leeds, and he's going to have a massive impact in this game again this week.
Yeah, and of course, we could be seeing the return of Brodie Croft, which, again, we want our best players on the field. We know Brodie can light up Super League, former Man of Steel, of course. Really looking forward to that. And that one, of course, is on Super League Plus. Of course, the Lee against Wigan game is on Sky. So if you haven't got the app, but you have got Sky, maybe you want to watch this one and then record the Wigan one and watch it later. But there's no doubt about it. The one at the Brit Community Stadium is one not to be missed. This was the last one. Oh, what a game. 1-0. You couldn't have believed it. Steph now is floating back to a time that he enjoyed. He's loving the nostalgia. Again, you talk about how close this game was. It was a wonderful, wonderful game of rugby league. It really, really was. couldn't have been tighter right the way down. The one area, though, Steph, the one area, all that matters from a league fan was all those years of a 1-0 win. Of course it was. But they can ill afford to do the same again. And what I mean by that is in game one, they missed 47 tackles, but still come away with the win. They cannot afford to do that again for a second time.
No, definitely not. And it's a completely different game, this to round one. Obviously, to catch Wigan round one, I think was a big benefit for Lee. It was a phenomenal game. Lee and Wigan both played really well in it. For an opening round game, I think everyone was surprised with the intensity that game was played at. I wasn't. It was a derby, and those are always, Wigan want to win these just as much as Lee do now. They definitely do not want the embarrassment of losing to their little neighbours. So it is becoming a really big fixture in the calendar now, and more so because Lee have been a lot more competitive. But I think it was the right time to catch them in that round one. This is going to be a completely different story. They're coming off the back of not playing for 2 weeks. Lee have got a 5-day turnaround, so that will have a massive impact. You'd be crazy not to say that's going to have a big impact on the intensity these games are played at now, and you're already going to one of the best teams in the world away from home. So it's going to be a tough ask for Lee this week, definitely.
Adrian Lamb was filthy over that 5-day turnaround. Absolutely filthy in his press conference. He wasn't very happy about it, I would say. And you're right to point it out. Lee tomorrow night are coming up against the best attack in Super League in terms of points scored and the third best defence. Tough on either side. A key player in the first game. I mean, again, you look at that. It's again this one, like the first game. Look at how close those stats are. Lee on a 4-game winning streak, Wigan on a 5. Of course, this doesn't include the Challenge Cup, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Wigan have scored more tries, but again, tackle efficiency, errors, penalties couldn't be tighter. A key player in game one, all the way back in round one, was Edwin Ipapi. He was our man of the match that night, and we know he loves to run and score it from dummy half. Nobody runs more. 51 times he's run from dummy half this year. That's more than anybody else. I think it's actually the same as Jez Litton. Massive player for you. We had, I think, a comment. I can't remember. It might have been on Final Whistle. I think it might have been Johnny on Final Whistle, who said he just hopes, rather than Edwin trying to smash people, to just maybe tone that down a little bit. He sees that as a problem. Do you see that as a problem?
Not really. If you look at the stats, I think Edwin's got the most missed tackles in Super League. So there's a stat, Dave.
It is.
I come out with one. But what that tends to be is he will put the initial shot in, which will slow the player down, and then the other players will come in. So they tend to ricochet off him a little bit. So it is a tackle, but because they ricochet off him, it counts as a missed tackle because then other players dive on them. So I don't think that helps him in that respect. But yeah, Edwin's a massive player for Lee. And if Lee are going to do anything especially against Wigan, then you need your best players to really stand up and lead from the front. And that will be a job Edwin needs to do very well on Friday night.
Absolutely. These are the squads. Let's take a look at the sidelines. Just Miskey and Havard for Wigan, Frankie Holton and Penne for the Leopards. We expect Armstrong to be added to that. It's not been confirmed. Armstrong's in the 21-man squad. But again, listening to the press conference, he's got fluid on his knee. Expect Bailey Hodgson at fullback. And I don't think any Lee Leopards fans will be overly concerned about that. Bailey, of course, in great form, a fantastic deputy for Armstrong coming into this game. I mean, look, it couldn't be better poised in the fact that we've got the top try scorer, in Jai Field for the Wigan Warriors, coming up against the top try maker in Lachlan Lamb with 14. Again, that's a narrative, isn't it? In the fact that, we know Field is in incredible form. I mean, he really is. He's in, dare I say, has he ever been better in Super League than what we're seeing at the moment? I think Field is in incredible form. And we know Lockie Lamb can be a little bit up and a little bit down. You need Lamb at his best, don't you, tomorrow night?
Yes, he's another one. Like I said with Edwin, Lachlan Lamb needs to have the game of the season for Lee to have any chance in this game. He has been hit and miss, but what Lee fans probably need to look at is that he's still the top try assist in Super League. Yeah. Which if you're not playing well and you're still getting that, which is the let's face it, your main job as a halfback is to create tries. So if he's top of the table of that, then there's not really a lot to criticise. It's probably a really good thing for Lachlan that we are saying he's not been, at his best, because what would he do if he was at his best? So, I'd look at it rather half full than half empty in that respect. But I completely agree. If Lee
you need at the risk of interrupting you, you need the Lachlan Lamb from the first half of the Warrington game where he ran it.
Yes, yeah, he's a running half.
Yeah.
That's his. That's where he's dangerous, and he's also got a great pass on him to. His game smarts are very good in terms of recognising where there's an opportunity to throw the long pass to Charlie at the right time. It's very rarely he gets intercepted and stuff like that, which is a high risk play. So that is something that he is great at. The things he's not so good at is in-game kicking, which this is where it needs to be offloaded onto O'Brien, and O'Brien needs to be a lot better in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other things to think of here. Again, going back to game one, you look at who's missing for both sides. There's no doubt about it. Frankie Holton is a massive miss in a game of this magnitude. It really is. In game one, he did 40 tackles. He missed 3. He carried the ball 20 times for 140 metres. Yeah. That was game one against the champions. Before his injury, those stats were pretty odd. That's what he does. He is that unsung hit. I mean, Lee Leopards fans love him, but people who, and this is why people tune into Super League Raw, because we celebrate all players regardless of position. For those who are new to Super League Raw, they might not rate Frankie Holton, but Frankie Holton, he might not be the superstar, but as a second row, there's not many better in terms of doing what his job is. What his job to do: tackle hard, run hard, and he does that, and he does it incredibly well. Big loss for you, mate.
Yeah, he does all the dirty work, which people don't realise. But he's also this year slotted onto that left edge with which Kai O'Donnell occupied last season. So, and him and Lachlan Lamb have got a really good relationship already. So it is a massive blow for Lee, because it also makes us one lighter in the park. So this is where it's going to come very interesting for me, whether he brings Tutavaki in this week and goes with a bit of a bigger bench, because he was 18th man against Wire. I think we need to be as big as we possibly can to even try and compete with this Wigan pack.
It's not the matchup that I've chosen, but it's still a belter. You've got Junior Nsemba, the 65 tackle bus Junior Nsemba, going up against the 96.3% tackle efficiency Ethan O'Neill. That's a belter, that one. That's going to be a cracking little tussle on the right hand side.
If we go back to round one, Ethan O'Neill absolutely dominated Nsemba. Nsemba did nothing in that game. He carried it loads, but Ethan O'Neill just stopped him every single time. So it'd be very interesting to see whether Junior does anything differently, or whether Wigan try and play him on the opposite side, maybe. I don't know whether they will change things up for this game, but they will definitely be watching round one in their reviews this week in terms of where he played and what they can do differently to affect the score.
The one play, I mean, look, people might be saying, when are we going to talk about Wigan? Wigan don't need to be spoken about. The 5-game winning streak. They've got, you look at that there. Yes, they're missing Miskey, but in will come Zach Eckersley. They've been playing without Havard all year, and they've got that much riches in the front row. They can cope with that. So Wigan come into this game 2 weeks off, seeing that they're not in the Challenge Cup still. Nice rest. Very fit indeed. No doubt about that whatsoever. I agree. The league doesn't lie. History doesn't lie. Lee are going to have to go some to beat what is a brilliant Wigan side. And we would expect Wigan to come out of this and win. I think the big surprise to me for Wigan this season, and it's a big surprise, is Liam Marshall. 4 tries. He had 9 at the same point last year. So he's half of where he was at this point. Of course, he was the leading try scorer in Super League 2024. You must be fearful of that going into tomorrow night, because you can't keep a good man down. It's a matter of time before Liam Marshall puts the afterburners on.
Definitely. And I think, just as we were saying about Wigan being favourites, Wigan will be favourites for every home game they play, regardless who they play this season. So that's regardless who they play, they're going to be favourites at home. The difference is how big a margin they're going to be favourites by, isn't it? But I think Zach Eckersley coming in to replace Miskey is actually an upgrade. And that's no disrespect to Miskey. I'm just so impressed with what I've seen of Zach Eckersley when he has played. I think he gives him more of an aerial threat. as well. So it'd be interesting to see whether Smith targets him with some attacking kicks close to, in the 20. That'll be a really interesting factor as well in this one. But you're right, they're even with a couple of injuries, that's pretty much a full strength Wigan side, isn't it? So that's the frightening thing for Lee. And with that time off as well, they're going to be raring to go in this one.
More historic moments. Bevan French, 2 tries away from 100 in Super League. Josh Charnley is still 1 try away from becoming 27th in the all-time British scorers list. And he's 1 try away from his 250th in Super League. The teams are out for Leeds against Saints. We'll come to them once we've finished this game. Thanks for that, Simo lad. The matchup, for me, it's this one. Now, don't get me wrong, they're on opposite sides. I get that. But they are big threats. This, for me, is Tessie News in great form. Great form. 2 brilliant tries at the weekend. Jake Ward, arguably the number 1 centre in Super League. I think Edge is coming to play on this game tomorrow night. Advantage, of course, Wardle. But if you look at the busts, 51 busts from Tessie New this year. He can punch through a line, and it's a potent weapon. And of course, now he's got Charnley back on his outside as well. That left edge of attack for Lee, who it's historically always been their go-to, for the last few years. But with Charnley back, New in there as well, I think that is a real opportunity for them. For them, of course, to coming up against Adam Kieran on that side, who I think is quite suspect in terms of defence. And of course, Wardle will be on the other side, will be on Hanley's side if he's fit. I think it's right that we pick these 2 out because I think these will again have a massive say in what happens tomorrow night. Certainly in terms of the tries.
Yeah, definitely, and a bit bonkers really. We did all that then without even speaking about Tessie New. So he's been phenomenal for Lee. What a signing! Another one where Lee have plucked out of the air really. No, complete unknown player to most in this competition. But he's been really, really good. Very, very much like a young Conrad Hurrell type player, I think. That's the kind of, the big size and the powerful centre, rather than Wardle, which is more the athletic centre. So real contrasting players in the same position, and 2 different ways of playing the centre position. So you can't really compare them in that respect because they're different types of player. But they are going to be key to each side. If these 2 play well, then that's going to help both sides.
100%. 100%. I don't envy you, mate, but you did it last time, and sometimes in adversity comes great performances. All I know is Wigan will be bang up for this one, and you're going to need all the luck in the world, I would say. I think Wigan will be the ultimate winners. But hey, I've been wrong before. We'll have to wait and see. Right, let's go back. The starting lineups. Let's just have a quick chat. Of course, we're just an hour and 10 minutes away to kick off. Of course, Super League Raw getting you right up to pretty much up to Sky's coverage start, as always, on a Thursday night. It is the team that finished against Leeds. On the bench, though, Mbai, Parsi, Delaney, and Wingfield. No Noah Stevens again.
Right.
Now, is he carrying a knock? I've heard nothing coming out of Saints to say that it's an injury or anything like that. So for me, at what point does Noah Stevens start considering why he signed that contract?
Well, I think I might message Derek and see if we can get him on loan. Because he's getting our side, I think, at the minute. Very, very. Is he put Sailor on the wing?
Sailor's on the wing. So it's exactly, he's gone exactly the same way as he did to finish that game against Leeds. Right, that's still the 21. That's still the 21? I don't think I've got Leeds.
He's 18th man for Saints, just out of interest.
It's Dagnall. Mate, it's bonkers. It really and like I say, with the noise coming out of St. Helens in terms of Noah Stevens, unless he's injured, which again I've got to state for the record, I've not heard he is. There's no mention that Noah Stevens is injured. So this for me is really odd that lad is not getting at least a bench spot.
I think he must have started the hashtag Wellens out on Twitter, Noah Stevens.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's going crazy tonight. No, I'm sure he's not. But yeah, it's absolutely madness. We'll keep our eyes peeled. As yet, the Leeds one hasn't come up. We'll keep an eye out on that. And once the Leeds side comes up, Will Cropp be in there, Will Cam Smith be in there. We will we'll go through that at the time. Right, let's move on to Saturday. KR against the Giants. Again, you'd say on this a bit of a mismatch, really. Huddersfield, 1915. We've got to remember that, KR's resurgence and improvement has been of the recent past. I mean, the 5-0 tells you that. That don't read too much into the 1915. 5 out of 5 against the Giants now for KR. Of course, we're on a three-game winning streak. Huddersfield delighted, I'm sure, to have got that win against FC. But, the 2 week off, for me personally, couldn't come worse time for Huddersfield, because they'd have loved to have a game the week after to build on that momentum. Could that 2 week off diluted that a little bit, Steph?
It could. I don't think it will. I think they'll be they'll still be buzzing. And I'll tell you what, those lads will probably have trained harder these last couple of weeks than they've ever trained, just because they're getting a win can do funny things, can't it, to a team? Just the confidence and against which was a very good side in Hull FC as well. So the Giants have kind of proved themselves a little bit that they are capable, if they play, to the potential of being some of the best sides.
Do you know what, Alex, mate? I'm having a mare tonight, and Alex said, "Why would the Leeds one come up? It's not till tomorrow. It's Catalans I'm looking for, isn't it?" I don't know where I'm going with that. Of course, I'm getting confused because they played Leeds last week and was talking magic. But anyway, there you go. Yeah, we'll go through that. We'll go through that now. So let's. Have you got it up?
Nope.
No, I'm going to go and find it. But in terms of, like I say, I just think that they'd have just liked to have been able to carry on that momentum. Right, here we go. The starting 11 for the Catalan Dragons. Bichet is fullback. On the wings is Yaha and Kotrick. No surprises there. Laguerre remains with Smith in the middle. In the centres is Farge and Kiri. Satai starts. I don't think that's good. I think Chris is better off the bench, I have to say. Navarrete is on the other side. Alex da Costa does make his own milestone tonight. He starts at hooker. Seguer, Sirinen and Partington. On the bench, Romano, Pangai Jr., Tariq Sims and Jordan Desiree.
Not a bad bench.
No, it's pretty. Romano, a bit of cover maybe over the back lines. It's a big bench. Tariq Sims obviously there. Desiree. Like I say, I'd have probably preferred it to have been a Pangai Junior start Satai off the bench personally. I just think Satai off the bench is a better shout, don't you?
Yeah, you might be trying to counteract Wormsley starting for Saints.
Maybe, Ty Wormsley.
Yeah,
maybe. And again, what we know about, I mean, it was interesting actually. We didn't mention this, but the bigger error, I think the biggest error rate in Super League is Catalan, if memory serves me right. But equally, they've got the most offloads as well. So we know Catalan play an expansive game. They are prone to errors, and they've got to tidy that up against Saints tonight as well. I think if Catalan can get on the front foot early doors, that stadium could start to hum. It'd be very interesting to see what happens. And of course, we'll be watching it with you on the watch along group. Cannot wait for that to start. Back to this one. KR Giants. Obviously, like I say, it is what it is. Everybody would expect KR to win this one. But the good news, let's go through who's on the side. Gildart, McAloran and Reece Martin. Of course, a lot of them are long-term, Martin and Gildart. But then you look at the Giants. No Sutcliffe, no Lollahay, Tom Burgess out and 9 levels. So 4 big players there, arguably all 4 start. I know that George Flanagan are probably ooh-and-ah on that maybe a little bit. Maybe not actually. They could push Gagai out to the wing, but I just think for Sam also potentially. So maybe Tulale, Tom Burgess definitely starters. Maybe 9 levels a starter as well. But this is perhaps the strongest Huddersfield Giants side they've had out this season.
Yeah,
which is good. Now, it's going to take them a bit of a while to get the combinations right and get up to match fitness. But that's a positive. So I think Huddersfield, we'll get to KR in a minute, but I think Huddersfield Giants fans will be looking to see a professional display, even if it's in defeat, and shoot to progress, won't they? Now that they've got these players. I mean, George King there as well. Let's not lose sight that George King is in the 21-man squad.
Yeah, another big boost. And to be honest, I don't think they're going to miss Burgess that much. As daft as that sounds, I've been so underwhelmed by him, and I think he's been a bit of a liability in some games for them as well. Which he sounds really, really harsh, that, but I think we're right to be harsh on a player that's come over as a marquee on so much money. I don't know whether you feel the same, Dave. I'm disappointed with his performances so far, but go on, I'll let you answer that.
I think props marquee money doesn't work. I mean, well, not the money that he's on anyway. I mean, there's other ones in like the likes of Amona at KR next year is going to be on a pretty penny Vaughan at Warrington, but rumours in terms of how much that contract actually is. And the age profile of him as well. I mean, it's like Paul Vaughan. If Paul Vaughan extends for a year, which again, rumours are that Warrington are looking at that, he will be offered less money. And then it's a question of, does Paul Vaughan want to sign on less money? And does somebody else come in with more in a Castleford Tigers kind of way? So it's an interesting one, that. And what I would say about Burgess is very similar to what happened at KR. In the fact that I can see a Huddersfield Giants where Ollie Wilson and George King are starting props. We saw what George King did at KR. Great starting prop, brilliant starting prop.
Wilson, we compare Burgess to Wilson as well. Wilson's been miles better.
No, but this is where I'm going with it. I think you've got two starting props there, and then in the same vein as we're talking about Satai off the bench, Burgess off the bench, 25 minutes in. We could see a different Tom Burgess. He has been starting a lot of games. I actually see, like I say, a future where Huddersfield will start with King and they'll start with Wilson and Burgess come in as that impact. And I think he's got to do that. And then it could be a different Tom Burgess that we see. It'll be interesting. But I think for me, I'm going to be very interested to see how this Huddersfield, one, off the back of what happened at Magic Weekend, and two, because they've got these players back. I'm not expecting perfect. I'm not expecting a win for the Giants, but it will be interesting. It will be interesting to see how it goes on the night. No doubt about it. As for, of course, the Robins, will there be changes? Or will they? I go back to what I said on Weekly about momentum. For me, you can, if anybody's carrying a knock, absolutely, you don't risk him. You've seen what's happening with Matty Ashton. If any of them players are carrying a knock, you've got to make that change. But if players aren't carrying knocks, I think you've got to keep their momentum going for that final.
Yeah, but the obvious change will be Morg will come back in at fullback, and Broadbent will probably go into the centres now with Gilda injury confirmed. Because he's like obviously for best part of 3-4 months, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's going to be the main change for KR. I don't see really Peters. They didn't pick up injuries, I don't think, in that game, did they?
Well, it's a very not based on the squad that's been.
Yeah. So I would be very surprised if he changed that team. He's not really the coach to do that, is he? No. I don't recall him making fundamental changes. No. It would also be a big, coming off the back of that Huddersfield victory against FC, that will be a warning message to Willie Peters not to do that. And I can't see him do it. I think he'll name his strongest side. I really do.
Well, we will find out on Saturday. I, for one, will be tuning in on that, and it'll be a belting game. And Greg Roach has said, actually, perhaps the better bet is who's going to drink the most on the day, Bazza or Joel, who'll be together. I personally wouldn't back either horse on that. I would say that would be a dead heat, or one will win by a nose. But
Joel easy.
I'm trying to be nice to Bazza, but I agree with you. Joel is an animal. Right, okay, we now move on to Warrington. Warrington against Wakefield Trinity. Actually, before we move off there, just a couple of milestones. Arthur Moore, he won't reach his 500, but he's only 21 points off that. Petter Hiku, 2 tries off his career 100. So that could happen this weekend, Petter Hiku. Right, Wakefield against the Wire. Wire have the better history, but look at that, 4-1. Wakefield have won the last 4 games against Warrington at the DIY.
Wow.
So that tells you something. The last time the Wolves won at the DIY was back in March 2019. They won 34-32. Another close game. So that tells you that they're a bit of a bogey team for Warrington. And of course, Warrington coming off the back of that Challenge Cup game. And also, quite a few absentees. No Ashton, no George Williams, even though the R and the O are in the wrong place. Danny Walker out and Lachlan Fitzgibbon. Again, very similar to what I said in terms of who was out in the Catalan team. You look at that Warrington side of who is out. They're big hitters. Danny Walker, Matty Ashton, George Williams, and even Fitzy. That's a big hole for Warrington. We'll get to we don't know what the squads are going to be. And that's before we know if there's other injuries in the Warrington team that will Sneed play? Will they risk him again or will they give him a week off? There's loads of questions there. But there's no doubt about it. If you're a Wakefield Trinity fan, you've got to go into this. Everything on that is really, 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 really tight. And of course, the last time these met, 30-16, it was Wakey. Mike McMeekin was incredible. They destroyed Warrington down the middle, destroyed them. Now, of course, Warrington will be aware of that and in some respects could galvanise Warrington because they were well beaten that day, well beaten, on home soil. Let's not make no bones about it. Liam Hood, Mike McMeekin that day were incredible, absolutely incredible. They destroyed Warrington, destroyed them. And the stats there pretty much bail that out. I mean, they really did take it to the wire and were fully deserving of that win. If you're a Wakefield Trinity fan, we haven't got the squads because, of course, we're too far out. But if you're a Wakefield Trinity fan going into this, you've got to fancy it, Stef.
No, definitely. Like we spoke with Wigan having a 2 week off. Wakefield have had a 2 week off. With Warrington having that tough game against Lee, where I think Warrington put so much into that game that could definitely be a factor. Is this on the Saturday?
This is Sunday.
Sunday. All right. So you still got a 7 day rest. So that's not going to be as big a factor. But Wakefield will be really targeting this one. They know what they can do after that victory at the Halliwell Jones. And they're in really good form themselves, aren't they? They won at Badger, didn't they? They beat
Castleford, didn't they? Destroyed them.
They had that. Oh yeah, caught the volatility. Right, you can't forget that, can you?
Moment of genius, sir. A moment of genius.
Yes. So they'll be buoyed by that. They've been chomping at the bit for their next game after the highs of Magic. So yeah, another really, really good game in store. This one. I hope the Warrington that played on Sunday turns up. I really do. I hope they have the same, because what Warrington can't be now is you've got obviously the excuse of the players out, but you just beat Lee with a lot of those players out or out during that game. So that really now for me is not an excuse anymore. You can play well with the players that you've got. And what Warrington can't afford to be is a yo-yo side. They can't be brilliant one week and then average the next. So I hope Warrington go into this with that same intensity, the same will to win as they went into that semi-final with. And look at it, really, because we're only 3 weeks away, as this is your opportunity to play yourself into the Challenge Cup final squad. So that's where Warrington have got to approach this game. And if they do, and Wakefield come into it with the way they played against Castleford, this could be a humdinger.
It could be a great game. And like I say, Wakey should be very confident. They're ahead of Warrington in the league. The history is in their favour. Warrington had a really tough game last week. Wakey had a week off. And I think, from my concern for Warrington now with the play, we know that George Williams is going to be back in and around the Challenge Cup. And again, they'll risk him. If he'll put his hand up. Of course he will. Nobody will be surprised to see George Williams run out at Wembley. Danny Walker won't make it. Fitzgibbon, again, I doubt he's going to be playing this week. I'd be amazed if he did. And Matty Ashton's gone for the season, so there's no point crying over that. It is what it is. But the thing is, for me, Warrington now are at that point where another key player goes down. It's a real problem. And I'm not going to mention who those players are, but there's certain players at Warrington that Sam Burgess will be praying and hoping don't go down, because I think they're only one, maybe two players away from, dare I say it, this being a season to forget, because it's key players that they're missing. And that's going to be a problem, and that's the same for all clubs. But like when you see those four aren't there, start of the season, you say, I mean, perhaps not Fitzgibbon, but if you said, name your top 6 Warrington players, George Williams, Matt Newson, Danny Walker's probably in there.
Yes.
Aren't they? You know what I mean? And they're not there. So, but no, good luck. I mean, look, it's let's sort of good thing for Warrington is a 7-day turnaround. Let's see what happens. Not a good place for Warrington to go historically. I think Wakey fans should be there in numbers and in full voice. It could be another win. And again, let's not forget from a league perspective, it'll be another 2 points above Warrington. That could be vital in the weeks to come as well. So a very interesting game. And then lastly, Salford, we're hearing that Ryan Briley and Nene McDonald could play. Chris Hill out. I know that the Wakefield press conference has gone on whilst we've been talking, but I haven't had a chance to hear who the injuries are for Darryl Powell. But I've listened to the Paul Rowley one. Again, forgive us, Salford fans, but it's such a shame because what a round 11 we've got bar this game. And it's a shame. I mean, and Castleford Tigers fans, all I'd say to Castleford Tigers fans, you don't win this. Wow.
Well, what I would say to them is based on today's news, this could be a real banana skin for Castleford, because if I was Paul Rowley, I'd be saying to them, this is potentially the last chance you lads are going to play together.
Oh, well, Mike Timms has gone Salford 9-17 in the chat.
Yeah, but I think they're going to have the strongest squad pretty much they've had out all year, barring the players that they've lost. So it's going to be. And I seem to have it in my head that Salford do quite well normally at Castleford. I think that pitch suits them, and I think on weekly we pretty much wrote Salford off. But I've been thinking about it a little bit, and especially after the news today. I just think in adversity, it's like another kick in the teeth for Salford today. And it's like, listen, what else can we do, lads? Just go out there and play and enjoy yourself, and that's all you can do. The pressure's off. So
I need to, Steph, I need to bring this round. I can't get out of my head what you've just said. I mean, as a rugby league fan, it could be. For in the short term, the last game we see Salford play.
Yeah.
Which is so sad as a rugby league fan.
Yeah.
And we like to be upbeat here on Super League Raw, and you completely popped me balloon there, mate, because none of us want to see that.
No.
And I think even though I've been keeping well versed in what's going on, so have you, your words there just hit me like a brick. The magnitude of what is happening. Yeah. This could be it.
Yeah. I don't think it will be. I think no matter what, because of the fulfillment of fixtures and the Sky contracts, the clubs will keep them in, even if it's with they have to but they just basically play in their academy every week and getting battered. They'll still fulfill the fixtures. But I remember in, I think it was 2016 or 17 when Lee were facing administration. The players weren't being paid, and on that day Lee were playing Batley, and they went out and beat them without being paid. Yeah. So this is why I think sometimes it can be a very dangerous side that's especially if they've got the world against us, nothing's going right. Let's just go out there and have fun together. And then that could be a very dangerous side. So I wouldn't be taking this lightly. And if Castleford go into it as well, especially thinking, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk, we're glad we've got Salford this week. That can bite you on the backside as well very quickly.
Could indeed. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if you're not going to a game on Sunday, Matty Timms running the 10K for young Alfie. If you can get to Manchester City Centre, me and the family plan on doing that, whether he sees us or not as he runs by, but we'll do our best to try and spot him.
Wouldn't it be great for Matty as well if he's doing that run and on that afternoon?
His team won, yeah. That'd make it worthwhile. But yeah, you can still go and donate to Action for Alfie. The GoFundMe page is still live. In fact, whilst I'm talking about that, there you go. That's the QR code, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get that young man and his family many, many memories. And Matty Timms is doing it the hard way. He is doing the 10K on Sunday. Again, Matty, on behalf of us all, you're a legend and the very, very best of luck. Steph just brought the tone down. There's only one way to lift the tone back up, give everybody a smile and a little bit of laughter. Let's see what bets he's got for us this week. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of winning your bets every week? Want to contribute to the bookies' Christmas party? The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Stef.
Yeah, so I'll quickly run through these because we're already 10 minutes over time and I want to get watching the build-up to this cracker that we're on with in a minute. So I've gone for Catalan plus 10.5. I think we're Saints under the pressure they are at the moment. I think that's a very generous start for Catalan, which I see this being a bit closer than that. So I've taken Catalan plus 10.5. Hull SC likewise 10.5, although Hull SC have had that dip in form. They've not played badly, and I think that's still a bit of a generous one. I still think Leeds are going to win that game, but not by 10 and a half points. So yeah, Hull FC on that one. Wigan minus 16.5. I can hear the Leaf fans turning in the grave on that one from me, but I am expecting a tough day at the office for the Leopards tomorrow night, unfortunately. So 16.5 for Wigan. Huddersfield plus 24.5. Likewise, given Huddersfield's performance against FC, I know they're going to KR. But they've had a week off. Care have been in that emotional roller coaster of getting to the final. I just think Huddersfield have got a bit in them for this one, and I expect OKR to win, but not by 24 points. I think Huddersfield will just have enough to keep that one in. And then Wakefield plus 2.5. Like we've said in the build-up, I think Wakefield have got a really good shot in this game, and to give them a start as well, I think it's very generous by the bookies, given Warrington's situation at the moment. So they're my 5. Obviously, no Salford bet still at the moment, and for my try scorer accumulator, anytime try scorer, I've gone heavy on the wingers this week. I'm actually trying to win this one, so I've gone for Dion Cross to get over this evening. I think that is his home debut. This one, I think it might be his home debut. Lewis Martin in the Leeds game and Zach Eckersley to score against Lee, probably from a kick. I would imagine as well on that one. So if you bet on those three, that's 14.4 to 1.
Sensational, Mr. Sell. I have to say, Lewis Martin to score a try 3-1. Dear me, that's generous. That's generous.
Because it's away, isn't it?
Eckersley as well, 2-1.
Yeah, considering all wingers in all separate games, to get 14-1, I think that's pretty. All of a high chance to. Scoring.
Crossy will probably play in the centre though, won't he?
Yeah, but even so, he'll be wanting to get over. Is it his debut at home?
His home debut, yeah.
Yeah. So how often do we see home debutants scoring?
Yeah, well, there you go. Oh, hey, up with Dallas again. What's going on? Outstanding stuff. There you go. We'll leave it as it is. Outstanding, brilliant stuff. There you go. Another captain's run has come and gone. Brilliant fare on a Thursday, taking you all the way up to Sky's production. That's starting in just over 15 minutes time. Just enough time to get your beer, put your kids to bed, kick the dog outside, tell your wife to go and have a nice bath with a bit of soapy water, or your husband if they're not rugby league fans, and then you can sit down, put your feet up, get the WhatsApp group going if you're a member, and we will see you in the WhatsApp group as we watch along this wonderful game this evening. Can Paul Wellens get the pressure cooker off him? Will Steve McNamara get vengeance? Will the referees behave themselves for Steve this evening? There's a question. Will Tristan Saylor score a hat-trick on the wing, or will it be Jack Wellsby, who's fantastic from full-back? And what about Aspiro Bichet? Will he continue his incredible rise in Super League? There's only one way to find out. It's by tuning into Sky at 7:30. But on behalf of myself and on behalf of Steph, we hope we've built you up to this weekend's action really, really well. We will be back for the Final Whistle podcast on Sunday, back for Round Unpacked on Monday. But ladies and gentlemen, don't forget as well, if you're at a game, take your photos, send them to us. They could be on the titles. Enjoy your rugby league. Steph, thanks as always for your time. Bye for now.